You're not a people pleaser. You're not introverted, you're not type A, you're not a perfectionist, you're not an overthinker. These are all things I wish I could say to my younger self when I was taking MBTI personality tests and wondering what was up with me, if I'm just more neurotic than everyone else. And by all means, I'm not a therapist. I'm only ever talking about my own experience, especially in regard to this video. This is just for entertainment purposes. I had to really sit with myself and be honest with myself, really dig deep and see what is my programming in this world, what have I been socialized to do as a woman versus what is actually in my genuine personality. So let me take you all on a journey. I came upon this realization when I was talking to my mom, and the weird thing about having a relationship with your mom is you're like, she really knows things about me. Like, it's weird because it applies in a past tense sense. Like, there's a lot of things I can definitely see that I've grown out of, but you understand me, like, fundamentally, like, what goes behind my thoughts, my actions, my beliefs. Like, ew. I was having a conversation with her, and I was like, I've always been introverted since I was a kid. Like, I always loved reading and, like, solitary behaviors. And she said, no, because what I remembered from being a kid was, like, me being at my most, sorry, not to get real, but, like, depressed and, like, lowly. And I just thought that was my personality. I just thought, like, oh, I don't really like to talk to people a lot. I do love to talk to people. I mean, that's why I have a YouTube channel, her. And it wasn't so much of I didn't like to talk to people. I just didn't like to talk to people about surface things, or I didn't like to talk to people who made me feel unsafe about myself. So what I meant by people was the people in my immediate vicinity, which were unfortunately crabs in a bucket mentality people that every time I did good at something, which now I know was just my former beliefs, but I would seem to attract these people who would reaffirm my beliefs about not being interesting enough, not being this, and it would look like in the form of being judged or being made fun of. And so I took that, internalized it, that coping mechanism, and my ego did this weird flippy thing where I thought that was a part of my identity, and it wasn't. Dug deep, like saw old videos of myself, like from 6 years old and under. I love to perform. I love to do the things I'm doing now, like making music, singing, being out there, which was so antithetical to who I thought I was because I was just internalizing these coping mechanisms. I don't want to be around these people, so therefore I just must not want to be around people. When that's not the case, I was just in the wrong environment. People pleasing is just a learned behavior. It's just a subconscious belief. It's all of these things. How do we override that and go from a people pleaser to a confident, secure person? And it doesn't even have to be like, oh, I think I'm the best, blah, blah, blah. It's just, I am happy with who I am, and it reflects in everything I do. To stop, you have to let go of your old story. That old idea, that old version of you, the moment that you decide it's over, it's done. That doesn't exist anymore. You create this new version of yourself that you want to be. Affirmations are the most universal way. You can absolutely do them. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I personally love to go into meditation and really take on a new identity. And it's so weird because it works. People, I think the reason why people are so prone to not believing in like manifestation or like that you can shift your identity is because it's scary. In order to create something new, you have to kill what was there. To kill the old story, you have to stop giving it energy. You are not a people pleaser, okay, first of all. To believe that you're something else, if you have the goal to be confident, for example, when you're first starting out with manifestation, it's a little bit hard to just go from A to B. So what you can do is what I call going, you know, like you have a number 1, you go 1.2. So instead of going from point 1 to 2, I'm using 1 to 2 instead of A to B, so I can use the little integers or whatever, decimals, whatever, math. I got a 96% in statistics, by the way. You can give me an award now. So to go from 1 to 1.2, you have to stop reliving the old story. This means stop making jokes about yourself. Oh, I just hate everybody. That's why I'm like this. You think that's likable, girl? It was cute in 2012 with all the Tumblr girls and all the, you know what I mean? It's not cute now. Let it go. It doesn't need to exist anymore. We can do something new. Commit yourself to power and transformation. Once you stop identifying those old beliefs and you stop replaying them in your mind, this is a new example. So, like you have numbers, right? You go from a negative number to value 0 to a positive number. Think about it like this. Where you are right now is a negative, right? How you think about yourself is negative. Doesn't have to be, but this is just how I'm doing it, so this is like easier to explain. You want to go to 0 first. This is what I call the void or the hypnagogic state. I love reality shifting terms. I will never apologize. Don't make me. Going from the negative to 0, you stop the old story, meditate, be nothing first. Because when you were a child, the reason why you were so absorbed, why you could pick up things so fast that adults thought you weren't picking up, is because you were at value 0. You were just a giant sponge for all these subconscious beliefs. And now, as an adult, the fun part is you get to refine them. You get to choose what they are now. You don't have to follow your parents or this or that. Okay? Yeehaw. So, value 0, hypnagogic state, you are nothing first. This is why I always talk about meditation. You don't have to meditate like a monk, okay? You can absolutely. I love using subliminals. I love using things for me that work for me. I also just affirm that everything works for me, so you can do that too. But I love meditation because if you like reading, read Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Holy, that was crazy. That book, it's a paradox. When you become nothing, you become everything. You become every possibility at once because you're rejecting the past. You're in the current present moment and it invites the future in. Notice whenever you have a glass of water, okay? The reason why I talk about the negative value, dumping that glass of water out, removing the old story, stop repeating things you don't like, stop telling yourself stories that you don't like. If you don't like it, don't participate in it. Did you know you don't have to ruminate about things that you don't like about yourself? You don't have to do that. That's not everyone's default. Okay, I'm going off topic, but basically, become nothing and all the possibilities come to you. So to become everything, you must become nothing. Now, you can move from the 0 value to a positive number, which is your goal, where you want to be. So if you used to be insecure, you became nothing. Now you're secure and confident. This is where the affirmations come in. And I like to do whatever comes natural. I know robotic affirming is popular. I love a good robotic affirmation. But even in robotic affirming, there's a way to do it that's more natural versus forcing, okay? And the reason why I talk about natural versus forcing, people say it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to you if you don't think it matters to you. This is what I think is important to me, okay? Notice self-advocation, not a people pleaser, okay? But even when I affirm, I love to affirm in that hypnagogic state because you're just so much more receptive to things. It's almost like the more you let go, the more weirdly in control that you are. Another reason why I love to do my affirmations while I'm in that hypnagogic state, right? Or in the state of meditation, it doesn't matter the term, it's all the same. Is because the reason why people talk about, doubts, you can actually bypass doubts. And you can do this easier through meditation. But I also notice when I manifest more in a natural sense or just embody who I want to be, it comes more natural. I get less of that pushback. I get less of those weird opposite results, which aren't really truly opposite. It's just the perception that you have. I get less of that pushback and I get less of that old identity because I'm letting it go in that moment. So I think whatever you embody, whether it's through affirmations, whether it's through subliminals, whatever you like to use, I truly believe at the end of the day, it's whatever you're embodying. And you can embody while just doing nothing, okay? Just by assuming, believing it to be true. I just like to do blanket affirmations, okay? And the reason why is growing up, I was a debater. Okay, I went to debate competitions and I did all this and I had to always explain my reasoning for something. So that natural urge to debate myself, to challenge my beliefs, okay, especially when I'm invoking new beliefs that aren't necessarily solidified yet, there's this part of my brain that's like, girl, like you're gonna have all these weird things, especially if you're doing it for the first time consciously. I really wish I knew about unconscious manifestation, but this is not even like a manifesting thing. Like, if you've studied psychology in any sense, the reticulating activating system, it's this part of your brain that sits near the base of your spine, like where your head connects. Not where, but like kind of above. And it basically filters out, I think, 70% of the information that you receive from the external world. So, don't quote me on that. I'm not going to provide sources. I don't care. You can research it yourself. Like, this is YouTube. This is like... The reason why we have this is in survival. Like, how this used to protect us was basically, you learn things from your environment, right? Ancient humans, I always love to study like ancient civilizations. I don't know why. Ancient humans used to just take whatever we got from our environment. So let's say, for example, fire is hot. If you touch the fire, you're going to get burned. Ooh, poetic. Now that you have this belief in place, fire, hot, okay? You have all this other outlying information that naturally stems from that one belief. Notice how you don't have to think about most of these things. These are really unconscious things. So when people say, oh, that's not true because the brain and blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to argue with you, okay? If that's what you want to believe, you will stay stuck in that form of consciousness for the rest of your life. Enjoy! But if you want to open your mind to something different and give it a try yourself to see if it really works, give it a try. Now that you have that belief, fire is hot, your reticulating activating system will now take that into account every time you enter your environment. So for example, if you enter an environment and let's say there's an opponent tribe, right? Oh my God. They have a giant fire and they're putting a spit roast over it. Okay, they're roasting maybe some food, whatever. You now know, because fire is hot, that they are cooking. And they're cooking because they have food. And now you know how to survive. So you can be like, I can make peace with that tribe, I could blah, 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 and then there will become more beliefs later on. But notice how that one little bit of information leads to bada bing, bada boom, bada ba. Think about this quote often, and it's the quote that life isn't happening to you, it's always happening through you. And this goes with like the thought exercise, right? The more you think about something, the more it appears in your life, and people question whether or not they're creating that. I personally think they're creating that. But it's really just the idea that even if you don't believe in manifestation or all these spiritual concepts, you don't have to engage with my content. I never want to give off that impression that I'm closed off, because my whole thing is about being open-minded, right? But even just thinking from like a pure psychological standpoint, like wouldn't you want to use the entire capacity of your brain? And don't you think that meditation as a science, as a spiritual tool, it's been studied for all these years? Don't you think there's something to it? There's not nothing. I was stuck in that people-pleasing loop, and I really thought that was it for me. I think if I never learned about manifestation or psychology or any of these concepts, I would have never grown out of that. And that's so scary to imagine, that I could just live my entire life never evolving. By the end of this, you still think all of these concepts are stupid. Just give it a try. And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. But if it does, the possibilities are truly endless. You don't have to be a people pleaser forever. You don't have to be a type A just because that's what people told you in your life. You don't have to be what people expect from you. And in the end, that will make you more free than any spiritual concept, that you can be whoever you want to be the moment you decide it. You're afraid to be corny? I was born on the cob. Bye.